We've all been there, right? Stuck in some process that feels just completely broken. Well, today we're going to talk about the solution, a really radical overhaul that can take something from broken all the way to brilliant. This is the story of business process reengineering.
But first, let's just sit with a feeling I think every single one of us knows. That feeling of being totally and utterly trapped by a bad process.
I mean, you know the one I'm talking about. That system that makes you fill out 3 forms when one would obviously do. Or that approval chain that just seems to go into a black hole. It's a workflow that feels like it was specifically designed to slow you down. It's honestly a universal frustration.
And what happens? Well, the results are always the same. You get endless delays, you waste so much money and time on stuff that adds zero value, and maybe worst of all, the people who really count on you, your customers, they're left totally frustrated. It's just this vicious cycle of inefficiency.
So, how in the world do you break a cycle like that? Well, it's not about patching it up with duct tape, it's about completely blowing it up and rethinking it. So let's introduce the big idea for today: business process reengineering, or BPR for short.
Now, I want you to pay really close attention to that first word, radical. BPR is not about making small little tweaks here and there. Nope. It is about fundamentally and radically redesigning how work gets done, so you can get dramatic, not just tiny incremental, improvements.
And this slide, this perfectly nails the difference. A minor tweak, that's like rearranging the furniture in a room. Yeah, it might look a little better, but it's still the same room, same walls, same old problems. BPR, on the other hand, is like bringing in the wrecking ball, demolishing the entire house and rebuilding it from a brand new, much stronger foundation. It's a complete and total reimagining.
Okay, so what's the end game here? What's the point of this radical redesign? Well, it's all about hitting these core objectives. Simplifying workflows down to their absolute essentials, getting rid of all that busy work that adds no value, and using cool technology to innovate. And really, it's about focusing every single change on one ultimate goal, creating way more value for the customer.
All right, this all sounds great in theory, but how does it actually happen in the real world? It's not just chaos and crossed fingers. There's a clear, structured blueprint for this kind of massive transformation. So here it is, the whole BPR life cycle. It starts with number 1, identify. You've got to pinpoint the core processes that actually have the biggest impact. Then you analyze them. Really dig in, map out every little step to find exactly where the clogs and bottlenecks are. Armed with that data, you define your goals, clear, measurable targets for what better actually looks like. And only then do you get to redesign, creating a brand new workflow from a clean slate. From there, it's go time. You implement the new process, you roll out the new tech, you get everybody trained up. And finally, and this is super important, it's not over. The cycle continues with monitor, where you track performance to make sure the changes actually stick and that you keep getting better. Now, let's be real. A project this ambitious, it comes with some massive potential rewards, but it also has some pretty significant risks. So let's take a look at both sides of the BPR point.
When BPR really works, when it succeeds, the results are just dramatic. We're talking about huge reductions in cost and time, massive leaps in productivity, and a much, much higher quality of whatever it is you do. Your whole business becomes more agile, and your customers, they become way more satisfied. These are absolute game changers.
But on the flip side, the risks are just as real. This kind of change is expensive, and people naturally resist having their entire routine turned upside down. It can seriously disrupt daily operations, and honestly, if it's not managed perfectly, the whole thing can fail spectacularly. A lot of times, that's because the new process depends so heavily on new technology working flawlessly from day one.
And speaking of technology, that's where BPR becomes so incredibly important today, especially when we're talking about the world of software development. See, here's the thing. Before you go out and build or buy some shiny new piece of software, you have to analyze the system you're building it for. And BPR is an absolutely vital part of that analysis. It's all about fixing the process before you throw technology at it.
This gets right to the heart of it. Without BPR, you risk automating inefficient processes. Just think about that for a second. You're just using super expensive technology to make a bad system run faster. It's like strapping a rocket engine to a broken down car. You're just going to crash, but, way more spectacularly.
So, the ultimate takeaway here is this. BPR makes sure your technology investment actually pays off. It makes sure that your new software becomes a tool for an amazing, efficient process, not just digital cement for a bad one that was already broken.
Which, brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. Whether it's at your job, at home, or even in your community, just think for a second about the systems you deal with every single day. What process in your world is just begging for a radical redesign?